It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
We're at Slumberland at the lake for this week's cup of coffee. I'm Wild Will.
I'm Uncle Chris.
Another great week. Following up from last week's show, we'll update you what we can on the Nichols apartment development at Sycamore Creek. We got a better update on both the Corvette Club fundraiser, a lot of winners, big money raised, and a couple of corrections. Plus, we talked with Kara Gerdeman with the Kids Harbor. We're going to recap you on all of the barbecue bash winners and the amount of money raised. It was big, so stay tuned for that. Plus, Lake TV just golfed in this last week. Monday, the COMC first annual golf tournament. Had a great time. We didn't win, no surprise there. But
I hear you were lights out, though, man.
For Will, absolutely, which is not saying a lot. They used at least one of my shots, which for me is lights out. Indeed. Also, local ribbon cutting for Lake TV's official apparel partner, Design and Print Co. We'll tell you about that. Plus, hey, we talk a lot about Niangua's Inn, right? The big film being done. But there's actually a local film done right down here at the lake from local guys that's streaming now on YouTube, absolutely free, and it's pretty darn good.
Wow.
We'll tell you about that. But on the other side of the break, we'll get into that. We're going to hear from Slumberland. But first, I want to let you guys see some sights and sounds from this last weekend's Magic Dragon car show, the Street Meet Nationals. Just in a ton of people in the area. Traffic was crazy. The cars were absolutely stunning. So we'll be right back after this.
Hey everybody, Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. We're so excited to announce a couple new partners with us here at Slumberland. The first being Flex Steel, needs no introduction. Great style, great functionality, and it's built to last a lifetime. The other being Homestretch, made here in America. It's also built to withstand anything. They're on sale with the Memorial Day sale. Don't forget we're doing 0% interest for 36 months. Delivery to the entire lake area at Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
Man, can you believe the amount of people around the Strip Friday and Saturday?
Amazing. It's amazing they can get all of that done in that little space. When you think about it, it's almost the perfect space for that.
Yeah, and so on the week after, you have the big Magic Dragon Street Meet Nationals. The lake, you've heard of Ozark Rides Rallies, right? It's been run historically, or the past few years, by Harley Davidson. Well, it's this week starting Thursday, probably by the time you're watching this, in through the weekend. And where it's been run before and organized by Lake Ozark Harley Davidson, it's actually been taken over by the Bike Fest Committee, the Lake of the Ozarks Bike Fest. We got a press release from our friend Heather Brown with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and so they've taken that over. And you can go to ozarkridesrally.com and check that out. There's scenic rides across the Midwest from the lake to other areas that they highly recommend, and there's prizes, and it's a really cool deal. We've covered it historically with Harley Davidson, and I just wanted to mention that because we've got Magic Dragon Motors, our new car show.
Yeah, which is great.
Super cool. You have Magic Dragon Street Meet Nationals, which is really cool. And we've been covering the Corvette show with the Lake of the Ozarks Corvette Club, and so all of the cars that goes right hand in hand with bikes, and Bike Fest in September has gotten so big. I see this Ozark Rides Rally becoming another huge week into the weekend for Lake of the Ozarks, for tourism, for visitors. And so Ozark Rides Rally, go look into that. I mean, it is really, really cool. And if you're not a Harley owner or a bike owner or a CF Moto owner, I mean, my buddy Greg Surdike at Surdike Yamaha, he's got those CF Motos. They're like a third of the price of a Harley Davidson, pack all the same performance. You want to go see Greg, Mason, Jonathan, the crew down there, and get yourself a CF Moto. And hey, I think they're going to be giving one of those away again this year at Bike Fest.
Really? You know what's cool is things are starting to double up here at the Lake of the Ozarks. Big, huge events one time in the year, like Bike Fest or Shootout. They're so big now, it's almost like we've had to add a second event earlier in the year or later in the year. Have you noticed that?
Sure.
So we've got Shootout Offshore and Shootout now. We've got Bike Fest and the Rides Rally, and it's so good for the lake area. So much business.
And what I see there is concepts that are great concepts, great events, but maybe don't have the organization or the financial backing that they need to take that next level. And so like Lake Race historically is now Shootout Offshore.
Right.
And then Ozark Rides Rally, now you get the Bike Fest committee with the CVB and all the local business owners behind that. And so I know Harley's still going to be very involved in that. But it's cool because what we see is synergy. You see a lot of people coming and getting involved to help these events acclimate to the next level. So all good things.
And it's kind of fun when you hear the story about the genesis of it. You know, when we had on the folks of the Encore, the Vandervoorts, and they were talking about, you know, he's the guy that originally built like Camden on the Lake and stuff. But he was also one of the original founding members of Bike Fest way back in the day. You know, sometimes it just takes some people willing to get involved and spend some time and put up with the crap, you know, and you get that ball rolling and it turns into what it is.
Sure. And so we'll be around all summer long, from offshore and shootout to dock series, all the cool boats we're working with.
Can't wait for dock series to come back, man. Year number 3, and this is just like, it's the greatest show on TV, man.
And I was looking back at the dock series, and you know, we're featuring boats, and I saw some very unique boats that we didn't get a chance to actually get inside or ride. And so I was watching the dock series, Michael Atchison to be in specific, and he's got this Azmat, I believe it is, in that, and I heard him tell us, it's in one of the dock series shorts, it has 3 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms in the cabin underneath. And I was like, okay, Andrew and I need to go back and see Michael so we can check out that it's an Azmat S6.
Wow.
Looks like a boat that belongs on the open ocean,
Can you let the cat out of the bag on some of the docks you're going to do this year yet? Because you've told me off the record about some of the things you'll
start seeing teases and previews, but I don't want to give away too much. I'm just going to tell you guys that if you're not plugged in to Lake TV on all of our variety of platforms, from Roku, Amazon Fire, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and also you get to see some behind the scenes stuff if you connect with me personally on my pages, William Holtz Lake TV on Facebook, on X, it's Lake TV Will, on Instagram, and on my own YouTube. You'll get to see some of the behind the scenes and some of the short stuff that you won't get to see on Lake TV, but buckle up because this summer is going to be, we're already full head of steam for the summer season.
You're not going to believe what he's got lined up and who he's lined up with. It's pretty impressive.
Someone told me that the co-host of Cup of Coffee, Chris Schneider, is going to show off his dock on the dock series. So
shoot,
no promises.
Wouldn't even make the top 1,000 of who you're talking to, dude.
So stay tuned. So much excitement. But in the meantime, local news, local business. We've been following the developments, Sycamore Creek, the Nichols apartment.
Yep.
The last couple of months, there's been a lot of uncertainty with delinquencies and payments. We've had many phases to our coverage, from the developer to the mayor to the contractors themselves. And last week, our story got a lot of attention, and I'm not sure it is directly why, but I do know it looks like the needle has been moving forward in regards to the Nichols apartments with contractors getting paid.
Oh, that is good to hear. That is some great news. And we talked about it last week. And I mean, we got a lot of response, both social media, and the mayor talked about it and everything. My position on all of this is I like everybody involved. I like the developer, Tegetoff. I like Mayor Harmison. You love the contractors and everybody working for them. The problem is things have not been going smoothly and well. And so, but I think things like this are fairly normal on these big projects. Hopefully they'll get it worked out and everything. But it was interesting to see how much feedback we got when we started, calling things out in the open last week.
Yeah, you're so nice. You like them. And
I do like them.
And it's great to like people. But for us, really, I was asked by someone real close to the situation to say, what is your goal here? Like, what's the end game for your coverage? And my answer was, my goal, our goal, Lake TV's goal, is to first and foremost be a voice for the small guys, the local contractors who may not have a platform or may not have the means to get help, right? That's first. Second, we want to keep an eye on the city of Osage Beach simply because we want them to be diligent. We want to cover their handlings of rolling out a project of this magnitude, the abatements, the different projects and the way they've handled this. We want to make sure it is good for the city. And we want to hold them accountable to that through this process.
That really is our job. right?
Correct, as journalists.
And as media people, it is our job to inform the community what's going on, good or bad, how that looks, who's doing good, who's not doing good. Really, that is our job. Whether people like it or not, that's kind of what we have been given to do in this show. And sometimes that doesn't make everybody happy.
Sure. And so for us, it's our goal, or it's our desire. We would be doing fantasy football stories, local athletes, scholarship awards.
I won the college basketball this year, right? I won March Madness. I need a trophy for that, right?
And I want to know, when it's checkout time, how much weight that's going to carry.
None.
Okay.
Absolutely none.
Very good.
Yeah. I just wanted to put that on the record that I did win that this year.
Very good. Yeah. And speaking of on the record, off the record, I did talk with developer Jeff Tegetthoff this morning before recording, and I got to talk with him a little bit. He said everything was off the record, and I didn't get a chance to really ask the questions that I wanted to ask. I wanted to find out the bank situation I brought up last week. It seems unusual or peculiar for a bank to be in a situation in the lien process where they would allow a developer to inject their equity into the project themselves. The agreement, I understand, is once $20 million is invested from the developer of his own money, then the bank financing is going to kick in. Now, that doesn't sound unusual. What sounds unusual is the process that they've taken this time. My understanding is developer Tegetthoff is injecting that $20 million into the project by paying developers and contractors and things of that nature. But I would understand or believe the bank would want lien position. They would say, okay, you inject the $20 million of your sweat equity to us directly. We will disperse that and oversee that to make sure everything is legit and good and you have the means to do that. Now that we know that and things are on the right track, now it's time for our financing to kick in and take care of the rest so we can get to the closing table, we can complete the project. Now, that's not what it appears the case is here, and so I didn't get to ask that question. But because the contractors had reached out and people had been asking questions, the community had been vocal about it, I continued to be diligent, and I did even speak with Chad Nugent with Thomas Construction, the lead developer, the lead I guess you would say the contractor on the project, the one who's hiring all the subcontractors and overseeing the project. And he was able to say that there was a large amount dispersed Thursday or Friday of last week.
Wow, that's
as our
great.
Story. And he said for the first time in a while, or the contractors as a whole said they got to actually meet with developer Tegetthoff personally, and he explained the process, where he was at. And all the contractors were in unison. They're not been paid in full, but they said we did appreciate him communicating with us, explaining the delinquencies, and he injected more of his own money to make these initial payments and try to get caught up. I didn't get an amount. I don't know what anybody is owed. I know there were a few amounts that were over $500,000 for the smaller subcontractors. I would imagine the amount owed to the general contractor would be much more substantial, but I wasn't shared those figures. I wasn't given those, and I can't speculate, but I can say a large amount was paid, and now the contractors and the general contractor, Thomas Construction, says they see this as a means to hopefully move forward and see this project to completion. But again, speaking with developer Tegetthoff, it was completely off the record, and again, I didn't get any of those questions answered. None of those questions were answered. And I still have not gotten to speak with Mayor Michael Harmison. I did get a text. He didn't love our coverage last week. He felt blindsided by that. He did use a lengthy amount of his time at Thursday's Board of Aldermen meeting to address that. He never mentioned you or I by name. He did mention a couple of the comments that were made that are now being used against him. But I have yet to hear back from Mayor Harmison, and I do want to indicate and let the record show, I did reach out and invite Mayor Harmison to appear this morning on Cup of Coffee, and since he didn't like our coverage and he felt like I was being untruthful, as he claimed in some of his statements at the Board of Aldermen meeting, I said, hey, I'd really love to have this conversation with you. Let's get to the bottom of this, but let's do it with the community watching. no reply. And again, reached out last night asking if I could anticipate seeing him at 10 a.m. as I put the finishing touches on the show, and I didn't hear back. But that was our wish. I wanted to have Mayor Michael Harmison on this morning, on this week's show, so we could discuss this with you guys watching, and that didn't happen. And I was hoping to get more direct answers from developer Jeff Tegetthoff, but again, he requested off the record, and I wasn't able to get any of those questions answered. And so all I can go off of is what the contractors share. They have gotten some payment. I don't know how much. I got the term substantial, and they do at least feel like there may be a means to see this project come to fruition. Because for these contractors, we all have to understand they've got a lot at stake. They don't win if this goes delinquent completely and stops. Their hope is, hey, we want to keep working. This is a pretty lucrative job for local contractors. This is big business, big money. If it goes forward, everybody wins here. And that is where we came in saying, hey, they feel like they're out of options. So we do our story. We get a lot of attention, a lot of coverage. And hey, what do you know? There's been a payment made to contractors. So we'll take that as a small victory for the contractors. And we hope to see this project come to fruition. I did want to say, really appreciate Chad Nugent. I hadn't spoke with him yet. I had reached out on Facebook, and he said, hey, I'm not a Facebook guy. I really apologize. I never saw your messages. I didn't get to see a lot of your guys' coverage. He said, but thank you. And, please, I'll keep you posted on everything moving forward. He said, but understand, we appreciate what Tegetthoff did by meeting with us and getting us this chunk of money, and we want to see this move forward. They don't want to see anybody get slinged through the mud. They don't want to see anything negative happen. They win when this goes forward and everybody gets paid in full.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still pulling for everybody involved here. Tegetthoff continues to pour in his own money into the Nichols development, millions more probably. So I'm really pulling for him. He's put a lot of money into this, right? So hoping that happens. Mayor Harmison, I think he's wanting to do good things for the community. If we can get this apartment building built, it'll be a great thing for the community. It's just struggling right now. So I'm pulling for him. I know he's not happy that, we're kind of shedding light on the struggles here and everything, but I think everybody's trying to do the right thing. It's just not going well. Hopefully it will smooth out and finish out.
But I'm not so sure, that the Board of Aldermen with the city of Osage Beach are completely aware of the payment delinquencies and what's been going on, because in listening to Mayor Harmison's statements at the Board of Aldermen meeting Thursday, he said, I just met with the developer, I met with the contractors, and they've been paid, and everybody is singing the developer's praises. That statement is not accurate. They have not been paid in full, and I wouldn't say they're singing the praises. And so that was where I was like, hey, I hope that the Board of Aldermen have heard more about the Nichols development outside of the mayor's disapproval of our coverage and things being said about him on Facebook, because our reputation or our image publicly, although we care greatly about it, you're elected official, your job should actually be protecting your constituents at all costs. And that's what we feel like we've kind of slid into the role of. And so we kind of challenged the city of Osage Beach Mayor Michael Harmison in that a week ago. And so that's where we're at. We haven't heard back from the mayor, and we'll hope that moving forward, not only can we get Jeff Tegetthoff on the show to ask him those questions that I didn't get answered and see what he has to say, but also our mayor of Osage Beach would love to have that conversation with him, because I do know that Mayor Michael Harmison and myself, we are the same in that we're passionate. We don't always share the exact same views or beliefs or way about going about our business, but we do share that we're passionate, and I believe he is passionate about the city of Osage Beach and doing good things. But I will also say this, I believe that he really feels like this particular thing is going to be a feather in his cap for a legacy for his mayoral, and so at all costs, he's like, this can't go haywire. Whereas I'm saying, at all costs, we can't let our small guys locally get hosed. We can't let them go without. And that's where our position, I feel like, is a little different. But you feel confident this has a solution in sight? I hope you're right.
Yeah, I hope I'm right too. But again, in big business, and especially in construction, stuff like this is pretty normal. It's not fun, it's not good, but it is fairly normal. I do believe everything, I think it's going to get done, everything's going to work out. There's too much on the line for everybody. Too much on the line for the developer who's put millions of his own dollars into this, too much on the line for the city and the mayor, and too much on the line for the contractors. There's a lot, like you said, this is a good job if they'll get paid, you know.
Yeah.
So I do think it's going to work out. There's just too much on the line.
No doubt about it. Okay, so as we move forward, last week we told you about the Lake of the Ozarks Corvette Club. We're learning more about that organization.
That was so cool. Your stuff on that is so cool. His short videos are greatness.
And Robbie and Andrew, you know, Andrew hung out with them more than I did this last weekend. And so I had a couple of errors last week in my coverage. I said that Mike Funk was the vice president. Well, he's actually the 2023 president.
Okay.
David Lance is the president this year, and Brenda Myers is their VP. I wanted to give her a shout out. And then also I said that they had raised $25,000 at last year's event. And they're like, hey, we don't want to be dishonest. We only raised $20,000. And so I said, okay, I'll correct that. So $20,000, which made this year's total even more impressive, $30,000.
Wow.
Raised
Getting bigger and bigger
this year. Over 170 car show participants, 90 volunteers, 10 vendors, and about 250 members of the public came to be part of this. And David Lance, the president, said, I'd say we had about 500 people in all, 116 Corvettes judged in the show, 12 more at the show, just there, not judged. So there was a total of 128 Corvettes.
Wow.
And those things are beautiful.
Yeah, they are.
My father-in-law has a Corvette, and they're just stunning cars, right? But you see that many in one place, and it's overwhelming.
They kind of like works of art. They're little works of art, really. Each car kind of is. They're beautiful. Yeah.
No doubt. So best of show winner, Ronnie and Becky Norcross from Ranger, Texas. Their 2019 white ZR1 Coupe took best in show.
They came from Ranger, Texas?
Ranger, Texas.
Wow.
Right in your old stomping
Wow,
grounds.
I don't even know where Ranger, Texas is.
Maybe it's in Arlington in the stadium.
Maybe so.
The LO Profile winner, which again, I mentioned, like, good for Missy. Like, her trophy, it's awesome. Like, I'm jealous. I'm like, how can Lake TV get in on this? Like,
you need to get a Corvette.
We don't have a cool trophy. I'm gonna get myself a Corvette one day.
There you go.
I'll get a trophy. But listen, Thomas Messina from Fenton, Missouri, the 1966 black coupe Corvette took the LO Profile trophy. Hewlett Chevrolet's winner, Carl Hirsch from Lake Ozark, Missouri, with a 1958 black Corvette. And then they have a Margaritaville choice because that's the venue, of course. And Larry and Valerie Cates from Collinsville, Oklahoma, their 2016 Arctic White Z06 took the prize. 10 states represented at this show.
Wow.
The obvious, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Arkansas. But you mentioned Texas, Minnesota, Alabama, also in there with Oklahoma. So great representation. And the most common comment, Dave said, they get that all the volunteers are so friendly and helpful, and that it's their favorite car show to come to. And people from the public, when they come, they're just, like me, so blown away at how many beautiful cars are in one place. So listen, every year, this Corvettes in Paradise event, you're able to go and check these things out. You want to mark your calendar for the end of April. We're going to be all over it. We'll tell you about it. You don't want to miss this because this is, as cool as these car shows are, because you get all the variety, I don't think there's as much value, like, as much monetary value at these car shows as there is at this Corvette in Paradise. Unbelievable.
Wow, end of April every year, huh?
And the judges, they did want to note that it is so difficult to be a judge this year because they keep upping their game, all the Corvette owners. So big shout out to President Dave Lance and the Lake Ozarks Corvette Club and Vice President Brenda Myers for their work. $30,000 they raised, and they'll be giving back to local charities.
That's so cool.
Super cool indeed. Okay, also last week we told you about the barbecue bash with Kids Harbor.
Yeah.
Okay, so they raised $57,000 before expenses. Unbelievable. They had 430 people attend, and first place sauce was Kime Time. First place baked beans was Hillbilly Smokers. They also took first place in pulled pork, and the Kids Harbor Challenge, it was Team Osage won that, while All Weather Roofing was the People's Choice. And for those of you that don't know, Kids Harbor is a child advocacy center offering coordinated response, healing, and prevention of child abuse in the Lake area, Fort Leonard Wood, and surrounding areas. And while we're covering this and Cara Harbor, I think it's worth noting that should you be in a situation or know something, you could always reach out to the Kids Harbor at 573-348-6886. And let's stop child abuse and neglect, there's a hotline, 1-800-392-3738. And I'll say, if you see something, say something. Children are the most vulnerable amongst us, and you should always have your eyes peeled in 2024. Just amazing work what the Kids Harbor do. Pretty special organization what they do for our community.
And boy, have they stepped up their game this year. They are just doing some great, amazing, wonderful things. They won that contest with the Blues, getting some money there, and just I think David Shipp has come on board with them, right? And just doing a magnificent job there. But yeah, we're completely behind them. Great organization.
And so crucial, what they do down here. So also, we've been attending a lot of events, and we had the first annual Central Ozarks Medical Center golf tournament. It was Monday at Bear Creek Valley, probably my favorite golf course at the lake. Like, that is such a slept-on golf course. It was beautiful for as much rain as they took on. And you don't realize how challenging that course is. I mean, the fairways are so narrow off the tee box. But COMC knocked it out of the park. 33 teams, they had golf. Crazy door prizes. It was a beautiful day. And of course, Lake TV, our team was the COMC Lake TV joint team. It was Andrew Evans, Greg Solins, the wonderful Constance Hoffman, and myself. And although we didn't place real well, we had such a good time. And the reason this event is so crucial is because they're raising money at COMC for their Camdenton expansion. They're doubling their size of the Camdenton location, a multi-million-dollar expansion to serve our lake community, emergency dental walk-in being added. They're adding a pharmacy, and they're doubling their behavioral health and dental services and their family care as is, and they're adding some top-of-the-line services that haven't been available before. And so the golf tournament this last week was for raising funds for that expansion. Kelly Miller, Bree Walters, Constance Hoffman, their whole crew, their board, all their volunteers they had there knocked it out of the park. Listen, coolest thing I've ever seen at a fundraise golf tournament, right? You know when you go to those, they have like the par 3 competition, the chipping, the putting, the ones that cost extra, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, they had a ball launcher there that literally shot the golf ball out of this ball launcher 200 plus yards.
Wow.
It was included.
That
they had
could kill
sponsors.
somebody,
It could have. Well, not if you have aim like Andrew Evans, which I'll get to. So everyone got to do it. You didn't have to pay extra, and it launched your ball for you. Well, Andrew, that was one of the shots we used of his. He put it right up next to the green on a par 4, and he was in the money. He was giving us a chance all day when you least expect it. We would shank one, and Andrew put one right on the fringe or on the green, so we'd have a putt for birdie. And I was like, well, look out, because by COMC's golf tournament, for year 2, something tells me Andrew Evans is going to be the best golfer at the lake.
Right.
He picks up stuff pretty quickly.
I hear you hit a putt from like 40 feet out over the rough or something.
30-foot birdie. You heard it from me. Okay, so it wasn't like it made news or anything, and it was 30 foot.
I read it in the New York Times,
through the fringe, it was the putt of my life. I was contemplating putting the club in the bag and being done after yesterday because something was going on, because I had the round of my life, which was fun. But shout out to COMC, Greg Solins. He was awesome, man. He can hit, man. That guy's got some power, and he was so much fun. He provided the tunes, the entertainment, and I couldn't think of anywhere I'd rather be on a Monday than hanging out with him on the golf course. It was such a beautiful day. Just had so much fun with that.
And we're going to have Kelly Miller, the CEO of COMC, on the Community Spotlight Show next week. She'll update us on all that growth in Camdenton.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to you guys seeing that. So don't miss the Community Spotlight every day on Lake TV at 9, 3, and 9 with new episodes every single Tuesday. Hey, real quick, local film out called Bellboy. It is actually unbelievably entertaining. I started it on YouTube, didn't know what to expect, was disappointed when it ended. There wasn't more.
Wow.
It is called Bellboy, and here's the movie flyer. You'll see it on screen as well. It was written and directed by a local, Jacob C. Smith, starring Connor Vance and Ashton Pachalski. Now, Connor Vance is the store manager at the Woods in Sunrise Beach where I go. He's introverted. He doesn't talk a lot. When I saw him in this movie, I was like, that can't be the same guy. It is. He killed it. Good work, Connor. Listen, guys, go to YouTube. We'll put the link in the comments. We'll share it with you. But already over 5,000 views. This short Bellboy, this guy right here, he is stuck between a rock and a hard place on right and wrong and what to do. So don't miss that. Well, that's going to do it for for this week's cup of coffee.
Where did all the time
from
go?
Slumberland at the Lake. Thank you, my friends, for tuning in. Make sure you stop by Slumberland at the Lake, and when you do, tell them Wild Will and Uncle Chris sent you.